on the podcast where nobody goes. On this week's episode of Cartoon Buffoons, I'm your host Wyatt, and who is here with me today as always?
Hi, I'm Morgan. I'm secretly the black woman persona of Roger Smith.
And who is our very special guest for today's episode?
Oh, hi, I'm Tariq.
Nice, yeah, of ToonrificTariq on YouTube fame. If anybody is curious, So I sent out a flare into the cartoon Discord.
It was a flare.
That was like, it does any, because we're talking about Mike Lewenhoek today. I asked, is there anybody that is like a fan of the show, which isn't necessarily me saying like this show sucks, but just like it's very obscure. So I just wanted to know if there was anybody that was like a fan that I could get to come on as a guest. And like Nick, who was on our last episode, immediately was like, yeah, Tariq, and then added you, and then we got you in here. Tariq, it's good to have you on. Obviously,
thank you.
I'm a fan of your videos and everything. So
am I.
Yes.
Oh, you guys are so sweet. Thank you.
Yeah. And I feel like you were definitely on the cutting edge of like when cartoon content moved away from people doing like episodic, sort of like Mr. Enter style, like reviewing an episode at a time, whatever, like kind of like maybe not bad, but like a little bit more shallow content to sort of like not quite video essays, but sort of like topic based, videos. So I really enjoyed that.
Thank you.
Yeah. But I called you here for a reason. You're not only a fan of the show, you're a fan of cartoons in general. So I just got to ask, before we get into Mike Lewenhoek, what is your history with Cartoon Network, if you have any?
I watched practically everything. That's not true. I watched everything that wasn't like an action centric cartoon.
You didn't watch like,
but even in like I saw like I would catch it obviously because I was a kid and it was around. But like as far as like being really into it, it was most of the cartoons. Just like a few pockets that I was kind of missing, like Time Squad or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Mike Lewenhoek was one of those where like as a kid, like by the time I was like conscious, it wasn't even like airing in reruns anymore.
Yeah.
But eventually they put it on Boomerang when I was maybe like 11 or something like that, 11 to 12 or something. And that's where I watched it and fell in love with it. But there's so many, like as far as just Cartoon Network, anything from that, like that original cartoon era and the era that followed. So like, like the Fosters and Laszlo
and
right.
That kind of like second wave of Kids Next Door and stuff like that. Like that second wave of shows. Yeah, that's and
the third wave of like Class of 3000. Like everything until you get to maybe
like Chowder and
where did
did you
probably like the edge of Adventure Time, probably a little bit, because like that's where a lot of like mid Adventure Time is like where a lot of people bounce.
I think the last show I watched like wholeheartedly might have been Steven Universe. But I recently I want to go and watch all of OKKO because I think that show's really
yeah, hell yeah,
you should. It's very good.
It's very good. Yeah,
y'all heard great there.
There have been some really obviously like old boomer cartoon fans like ourselves are always like, it was better when I was a kid, but like I do truly believe that there are plenty of shows that have come out in like the past decade that are like better than shows that we had when we were a kid.
Like when I go it was better when we were a kid, I mostly mean like people were allowed to do stuff.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah.
I think like I don't know. There are
like,
aspects.
Not creators. Creators are fine.
Yeah,
but like
I think there are aspects of these old shows that I'm like, I am really nostalgic for, and I am really like, man, I like because this show, you know, to kind of get into it a bit, like you compare it visually and stylistically to the other stuff on the channel, it's so different. Like it's such a unique style. Like you compare it to Ed, Edd n Eddy, and then Ed, Edd n Eddy to Dexter's Lab and Powerpuff Girls. You know, like they all look different. Like Powerpuff Girls and Dexter are like in that same kind of style, but like Ed, Edd n Eddy is quite different. This is very different from those. I'll just say this: I can't believe it. I loved this show. I loved going. I loved going and watching it. And that's not to say I don't have like some issue. Like obviously, like the premise is kind of, you know, a little bit sketchy here and there, like on the you know, offensive meter. But like kind of taking it, you know, taking a step back from that and just like interrogating it as like, okay, here's a show that's like the vibe is there, the characters are on point. The like vocal performances are really good, in the art style. I love the art style in the show.
Dude.
Like I feel like I don't know. I feel like I didn't maybe like care for it in the past, but just like coming to it this time and like watching it, I'm like, holy crap! Their characters are like so charming and so cute.
I was also like a little like, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna like this, because this show exists in a realm where I have called it the boomerang zone.
Yeah,
where everyone my age goes, oh, I remember this show. When did it air? And then I tell them it aired in like 1999 and like 2000.
Yeah,
you were probably barely cognitive.
Yeah,
you probably caught it on Boomerang in the Boomerang zone. There's many such like cases exist. Exactly, it's like you caught it when they put it on Boomerang, and like I know like putting stuff on like a side network not everybody owns is like a practice that people don't like. But thinking about Boomerang, so many cartoons that are just like really good would not have caught eyes if it wasn't.
They lived on. They lived on.
Yeah. I mean, even like modern day, like you know, getting to watch stuff like Juniper Lee and like Camp Lazlo, like
and then
on Boomerang, you know. Because they like, I mean, fucking Max doesn't even have the popular Cartoon Network shows. They're just like taking them all off. Because of streaming rights. So it's like going to HBO Max and being like, oh yeah, I can sit down and watch like all of My Gym Partner's a Monkey in like beautiful HD quality. Like that's like crazy. And then
that cartoon looks so good.
Yeah.
In like its HD format, I was blown away the first time I saw that.
No, when I did a video on both Camp Lazlo and My Two Partners a Monkey a few years ago, and you know I watched through them on Boomerang, and like I was just kind of, you know, watching them on my like big TV, I was just kind of blown away by how like good quality that was, and yeah, like. This show, though, even just watching it in the AVI format, you know, very tiny video format and everything, like the charm was still there. The visuals, it still like looked great. Because cell animation, of course, looks better than digital no matter what. But I do want to, before I continue, though, I do want to ask Tariq, how about you? How did you feel like revisiting the show and like everything like that?
It's so funny because this show has like, at least for the past few years, it's never like left my brain.
Yeah.
In some way or another, I find a way to think about it, like go back and find an episode. It's kind of easy nowadays because at first, you know, you just kind of had to get lucky, but now it's just kind of on YouTube. But man, like this. I was watching some before I got in here. Like I literally paused an episode to get in here. And it's still funny. It's still funny, and it's like it's silly, but it's like calmer. And I think to your point about how like it was cool back when like people used to just be able to like do things. It's just kind of like I don't know. I can't see a cartoon getting picked up today that's like this. I feel like people would say that it was like boring.
Yeah.
Or like, like dry, nothing happens. You know what I mean? But I think there's an audience for that kind of stuff. And that's always been the kind of stuff that I appreciated.
Yeah, I was surprised it was 11-minute episodes too, because a lot of these cartoons at the time are 7. And like, 11 minutes, like I like the 11-minute format, A lot of people are kind of iffy on it. They like their 22-minute shows. I don't think we need that. I think 11 minutes is just fine to tell a story in a cartoon for the most part. But we haven't recorded it yet. We'll eventually get to it. But Johnny Bravo really falls off when it goes to 11-minute episodes. It goes from... it becomes a lot harder to sit through just because it's like... Just those extra 4 minutes really pad out the episode. I thought it would be the same with Mike Lunog, and there's so much like dead air, but it's so chill. Sure, it just is what it is, It's just like so chill,
Because I think it's like a vibe based thing where like Johnny Bravo's good. Like there's cartoons that you make for 7 minutes because like when a cartoon has a lot of like harsh sound effects and movement and things happening. I think 7 minutes is the point before your brain goes, all right, bud, let's take it back a little bit. But this show, like, I think, like, even though they do stray from the format, this show's format is so clean of thing happens. Mike is complaining as much as us East Coasters do about not having something. Odd makes it. It goes wrong. It's such a clean format for 11 minutes. I can break it down in my brain.
I was so happy when I heard her talk and she had a New York accent. I was like, yeah, here we go.
Dude,
I was cheering.
The funniest thing about Mike is just like, that is so somebody from Manhattan. Like if you get somebody from Manhattan, and it's just they can't shut the hell up about what they were able to do in Manhattan. And that's what the cartoon is just like. At least the first season is just like Mike being like, "Why don't y'all have this one specific convenient thing that I miss from my home?" And then Art goes, "Huh,
I'll make it."
Yeah, like, and then they always turn out like kind of like the remix version of what we have. He has no reference. It's just all like
man. Like she is such a funny character. She's so like she is adorable. Lou, I feel really stole the show for me just because Nancy Cartwright.
You love annoying girl characters.
Yes, they're just really fun. Like it's just I don't know. I just like that so much more than like a token girl character or like I don't know, like a girl boss or something like that. I don't know. Like it's just I prefer a character that's just like terrorizes everybody around them and like makes their problems everybody else's problems. And like I said, Nancy Cartwright, as a fan of The Simpsons, like that's basically the only show that I've heard her in, like as Bart. So like seeing her range with this, where she's like, because Mike is more of a Bart type character, but she's Nika Futterman, and then Lou being like a really like
really out there,
like really prissy kind of like just constantly like complaining, and just like getting her parents to do things for her, and
I had this. I decided to like switch over to the YouTube one and put it on the living room so I could watch it with my partner while we talk. Cause side thing, this is a really good show to just do other stuff while having fun. It's still funny. But I was like, we gotta give Nancy her credit because it's hard as an adult to have a few good kid voices, but having a few good kid voices that sound utterly different. Cause I was like looking for the Bart in this voice as I was watching it. I was like, I'm not picking up a lot of Bart in here. There's there's like sometimes where she gets a little bit like angry or growly where you can hear the Bart, like kind of come out, but like she's like it took me a while. It took me like 3 episodes to be like, oh my god, that's Nancy Cartwright. That's like it took me a while to realize that because I immediately recognized Nika because of being a fan of My Partner's a Monkey, and it's the same as Adam.
Oh, that's where you recognized her. I was trying to figure out, because Michael Onog was first for me, not before Gym Partner.
Yeah.
But Michael and Og was kind of, and then I remember watching Sonic Boom. I was like, who the hell is that?
Yeah.
And this is oh wait, that's Mike. Yeah. I was like, oh, that's
yeah, which is great. I'll say like probably the least good character is Og, right? Like he's just kind of
whoa.
Yeah.
I'm about to die on this hill.
All right.
Oh,
okay, fine. Yeah, sure. Okay, sell me on. I'm not saying he's bad. I just out of the three, least preferred. So sell me on.
I had
wait, hang on.
fun with Og.
Okay.
One second. I am so sorry, but I think my program was recording with my laptop mic this whole time.
Okay.
I can.
Is that going to be a problem? Or I mean, you know,
I don't think it's not. It'll sound like noticeably different.
Okay. I think that I think it'll be fine. I think we might.
I can switch it like right now.
I'd rather the audio consistency than the the higher quality because I've dealt with people with questionable mic quality, and there has been many times where I've accidentally recorded on my laptop microphone instead of the expensive $100 microphone.
Right.
You know, so which is it's fine. I think it'll be hopefully nobody will complain. I'll deal with it in a week or so whenever the episode goes up.
Okay, I didn't want to interrupt the AUG discourse.
Yeah,
I just wanted to. I realized I was like, oh, we're 15 minutes in. I could probably do something now, but I feel you. It's okay. I get you.
Yeah. But like, I think like AUG was like maybe my favorite, and it's funny because you like annoying girl characters, and I usually enjoy smart characters who are reserved. I think something about AUG. Og's like, oh, I'm here to help. I want to help everybody. And the voice also sells it. Yeah. But there's so many episodes where Og does something for somebody else and is just getting so angry at everyone's reaction to it that those are the ones where I think are the absolute funny. Like him just doing, oh yeah, I'm going to do hot dogs. Let's make a hot dog stand. Yeah. And everyone's messy. And he goes, you know what? Nah, fuck you guys. No one can have hot dogs anymore. I'm like, no, he's real. He's valid for this. Yo, get the fuck out of here.
He reminds me a lot of Double D. Like that's what he reminds me from.
No, that's exactly what he gives. Yeah.
Yeah, and like D. Bradley Baker as his voice, and like, which is
Og's voice is written onto my brain.
Yeah,
I'll never forget what that kid sounds
It's a funny voice. It just makes you, I think about like Duckman and how Jason Alexander was like, man, I didn't think they was gonna make 4 seasons. So I gotta do his voice for 4 years.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
I think D. Bradley Baker is secretly glad he doesn't have to do Og anymore because that sounds like murder.
Yeah.
Need a big glass of water. You're coughing when you get home.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got it made in the shade now because like he basically just does like a few like he's like every like cartoon animal now. Like so he just does some like animal noises. Like, all right, take my paycheck and I'm going home.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna say while on the voice cast, I think like even though premise was so questionable on the surface, right? And I think there's still issues. But going into the show, finding out, we crashed here not that long ago. We're all British. Yeah. Truly the funniest reveal on earth. Yeah. We're just like, we got to have our cultural meal. What is it? Tea. And I'm like, okay, what's going on?
Yeah. Yeah. And like, even though, like, like you said, there are problems with the like that is maybe one of the things where like you couldn't make the show not to be one of those fucking guys, but like whatever, like it might be a harder sell just because executives would be like more scared of it, whereas like I think like the way that the show is set up, I am surprised it went for 2 seasons. Even at the time, it feels like kind of a stretch of a show to like sell to kids. And I'll admit, like, I really didn't watch it when it was on Boomerang. I don't think I saw it too much. I really only remember like Dexter's Lab and some other stuff on Boomerang, like some other like Johnny Bravo and then of course like a shit ton of Hanna-Barbera stuff on Boomerang, but like this one I didn't really remember seeing too much on Boomerang, it wasn't until like recently-ish, like maybe in like the past like 10 years, that I became like familiar with it in the sense of like, what is this show? And then like look it up, and it kind of became like a running joke with my friends of like, oh, here's the show that nobody on Earth remembers. Like, who cares about this? That kind of thing. And then like, yeah, just like going in and watching it. Like I went in with an open mind, especially like after the last few episodes. I mean, we really loved Powerpuff Girls, of course, but like Cow and Chicken, we like really put through the ringer, and like Flintstones on the Rocks, and like all the stuff like we were very critical of. I was just like, I need a W. We need like a good
W.
Yeah, we need one of these like weird shows to be like really good, and like I feel this is. It reminds me of like Secret Squirrel that we did with where it was paired with Two Stupid Dogs, and we were like talking a lot of shit about Two Stupid Dogs, and then Secret Squirrel were like, holy fuck, this is really good. Like,
man, that's so cool to hear, because I like when I was when I first started doing like taking the video seriously, I was talking to a bunch of my friends, and I just kind of like passively mentioned how much I loved this cartoon, and then they all were like, ew, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You watched Mike Lewin, like it was like a big deal, and I was so confused. So all my friends, not all of them, like I have a couple, like my friend the Wacky Deli really likes Michael and Nog. My friend Hats Off Media likes Michael and Nog, but otherwise, like they barked at me for real, and at that point I just kind of was like, damn, I didn't know this was like a thought process. I just kind of thought, because it's cool. The thing that was really cool, you look at the totality of the cartoons, that there's a flavor in it for everybody.
Yeah.
Depending on what you care about and the kind of cartoons you like. If you like loud, silly stuff, you got your Cow and Chicken, you got your Billy and Mandy. If you like simpler things, like simpler like comic things, like you got Michael and I.
This is very like comic strip esque. Like
that's a good way to describe it.
Peanuts, obviously, and like some other stuff, but like Peanuts comes to mind probably because the noses. Like I feel like they have the same like
sure, Mike,
like similar shape there to the nose, and like Mike herself is very like Peppermint Patty. Like she feels very similar, and then Lou is like Lucy, which is maybe why she's my favorite. Because Lucy's my favorite character from Peanuts.
I think a like underrated joke that is constant every time I watch the show is that I love that Lou continuously refers to herself as a princess.
Yeah, I love that.
Even though her father is a governor.
Yeah,
he is not
She's
king.
Not a princess. He's not a king. He does official governor work.
Yes.
Why didn't she's like, I'm the king of the... That's not how that works. I love her for it. It's so funny.
I love it because she's taking like an inch and running, because they're like, all right, we're minor government officials in the hierarchy, or like very like middle of the road. But because now we're on this island where there's no other governmental body, I get to just be at the top, and like her parents like aren't entertaining that. Like they play along, but they aren't like, yeah, we're king and queen or whatever. Like
right.
Yeah. she's just like thinks she's a princess, and then like acts the part, and it's like there's like an episode about her like just like making herself a crown. Like there's so many episodes where I'm like, man, this is such a basic premise for an episode. I feel like it took until maybe like Clarence or something for there to be another show that had the same sort of like super basic premise.
Yeah.
11-minute episodes, and then it's just like funny. The only difference is Clarence is very naturalistic dialogue. Like the characters act like really, they're very similar to kids, whereas in this it is very like witty, kind of like a comic strip. There's the way that characters talk. It's not like completely cynical, but you have things where Mike will be talking in a way or like reference things that she shouldn't know just because it's funny, like she'll talk about Thanksgiving and like talk about like heart disease and things like that,
Yeah.
And then it's like, and it's supposed to be just her like innocently like being nostalgic about this old tradition from where she lives, and but like the writers are putting in like little barbs about like the American culture of like, we have an entire holiday where we just eat like a shit ton, like so much food it makes us feel really bad for multiple days afterwards. Like this, that's the holiday.
I think my favorite, like, Mike explaining a thing of American culture that sucks is, I know I just talked about the hot dog episode, but her describing hot dogs at like a place is the funniest goddamn thing. She's like, yeah, you need a little bit of the fuzzy greenness on the bun. You need an old, awful hot dog that's definitely touched the ground before. A dude who's rude to you serving it to you. Yeah. It's America. It's America. And I'm like,
New York. Yeah. I was watching one this morning where she was talking about that's the guy's name, Action Guy. I think that's the
the superhero, Action Guy.
And she was talking about one of the issues she had, and she said it was really old. And she said it was from 1992. The joke back then is that is not really old.
Yeah.
It now is just like, oh, she's just talking about a comic from 92 and she said it's old. It's definitely old now.
Yeah. But like, because she's a kid, she has like such a... That's like me when like I was like 9 or 10 years old and I was like looking back on being like 7 and being like, man, those were the days, like... this game was Sonic the Hedgehog 2 was classic when it's only been like a couple years since I played it, and like now there are games that have come out like 5 years ago that I'm like, yeah, that just came out, that's still new.
I think another like so my favorite character from the show, surprising no one, is the rude, witty Shakespearean girl Hermione, who gets introduced with her siblings later on. And the acting episode where she goes, this is awful. This script is terrible. What's my motivation? What am I doing here? This is like the fact that she's like the only one who seems to be on the island that's like even close to how smart Og is. It is constantly just talking down to everybody. It rules. It kicked ass. I love like when the show went out of its way to like, let's slowly add in a few more characters.
They opened it up. It's really cool.
I love that. It's so good. I love when shows, even if it's like something that simple. Like I feel like, because people get on your ass if you try to like appreciate a children's show and like a world being built and like continuity and stuff like that. They're like, read a real book, and it's like, one, no, you don't read. I guarantee you don't read. And two, like, not everything has to be like epic lore for it to be like an engaging world that is like slowly, like you learn more about and you get engaged with. Like Craig the Creek, it has a story to it, but most of the episodes are just like about either introducing you to a new kind of weird kid that's like at the creek, or like learning more about like a previous kid. You learn more about the horse girls, or the which are my favorite, the tea timers, like learning more about those characters. And like opening up that world and like introducing new characters to the cast. I mean, Craig the Creek season 4, like a new main kid is added to the cast, which is great. I just love that kind of stuff. And like, I don't know, I feel like there is room for that in these lighter, like more episodic shows, to like you want to still be rewarded for like paying attention to this world and like loving the show and like viewing the characters and everything. You don't want to just constantly get this repeating loop of the same thing over and over again, and the writers don't want to do that. They want to spice things up. So I'm just
and like when you have a show like this where the interplay with characters is the fun part, like how Lou is going to react to what Og is making for Mike is very much interplay. Adding a few more characters does nothing but expand those dynamics in a way that's really fun, and that kids really do like them enjoy and absorb and stuff like that. Like
I think it's cool the two directions that, like, because this came out like I think like 10 months after Ed, Edd n Eddy. And I think it's cool, like the two directions that those cartoons took, because they were the two cartoons that that as soon as they start, they tell you, we have this many characters, we have this amount, there is nobody in the background. Like we're like Michael and I specifically, like we're on an island. There is nobody else. Like this is it. And Ed and Nettie just kind of chose to like for 10 years to just kind of like figure out ways to skew these characters, this specific set, not add anybody. Like, you know what I mean? Just kind of like find creative ways to make things happen with just them. But like Michael and I just was kind of like, nah, we can figure something out. I think what they do is really cool because they give you like that like fake school setting, which is like, you know, that's funny. I like they give Og the animals to talk to, like intellectual slaves, or he can like combat, like get his like political like takes off and his like existential stuff or whatever. I think it's really cool what they do, and it makes me wonder, like, if they were to keep going, would it have been more of like would the second season essentially just be the show? Was that them routing it out and being like, okay, this is the cartoon now, or would a third season add even more?
I think when we started getting episodes of like that one film guy coming in from like just the normal world.
Forgot about that one.
Yeah. When we started getting that, I was just like, oh yeah, there's like a world where this cartoon kept going, and there's just a single one-off episode where Mike has just a straight-up family member come in. Yeah. Like, I feel like this is like the ideas they would definitely have like in the back burner of like, if we get another season, let's get Mike's sister in or some shit like that. Like,
one thing I love is that, like, with all these, like, the three characters, like, and then they can get on each other's nerves, and obviously, like, Lou is probably the most antagonistic of them, but they don't hate each other. They all, like, at least, like each other on some level, and, like, Mike is very, like blasé or whatever about all of the nonsense that, like, Lou is up to. You know, like, that's like, she's very, like, kind of go with the flow. Like, she'll get annoyed, you know, again, but, like, there's just something I like about that where it's like, okay, it isn't like a horribly cynical show. There's like not like characters like screaming at each other and like just constantly there's like, you know, that was something that was kind of a problem with I felt with Cow and Chicken, was that there was like literally nothing really to hold on to as far as like what is the joke, like what's the premise beyond just like Cow is fat and stupid. Like that's
nonsense. That cartoon's nonsense.
Yeah. And then there's like the devil, but it's like, okay, what's his deal? He's just a different guy every episode. Like it just like fills a different role. I gotta give a shout out to this show. I just learned here on Wikipedia by looking at all the people who created it. A lot of Russian names. And it's a Russian animation studio. My people. They really pulled one out here, and I, you know, genuinely think that that's really cool because, like, you know, Russian animation, especially Soviet Russian animation, you know, is like a really underrated, but like beautiful part of and like interesting part of animation history, and like I feel like this is, you know, not quite the same like weird, depressing, desolate Soviet animation from like the 80s or 70s, but like it's kind of, it's like Klasky Chupo, which is also like two Eastern European people doing and there's just something fucked up about Eastern Europe where they just like make characters look like this, you know. They're just like, yeah, let's go for it, this is what they, but I'll say this, and I like plenty of Klasky Chupo shows, like Rugrats and As Told by Ginger are like great. And I haven't seen Wild Thornberrys in a very long time, so I can't tell you. But I do really like this version of like that kind of art style more. I don't know why. I think it's like, I don't know. There's just
I had the same thought as I was watching this, and I think what I realized is that, and I don't know how to put this any other way. No one's like lumpy.
Yeah.
And the thing is, though, I do like the lumpiness of Rugrats, and I do like the lumpiness of characters in As Told by Ginger. Like, I will defend that cartoon till I die, but there is a lumpy quality to all the lines they draw. Even the smooth lines go into lumps, be it in the hair or in like the clothing or something else. But Michael and Og, there's like a very clean, like there's still like that quality, but there's pretty clean shapes happening with how well everyone's designed, except for maybe like the old man. Like, but that seems purposeful. Like, I think that's what it is. I think this like reads easier for people, and also proportionally, it doesn't have the thing that everyone harps on As Told by Ginger of where everyone's mouth is too low.
I mean, I love As Told by Ginger. I kind of agree with that complaint about it. You know, just the design. Like, I've seen like people do the edits where they like move the mouth up, and it does it's like wrong. It like that's the thing. Like, it looks better, but it looks wrong. You know, like
it's not the cartoon.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not. It's like, not the style you're going for. Exactly.
Yeah, that's because that show has its even like as not even just based on how it's written, it has its own identity because it doesn't even like look like Rugrats.
No,
or Rocket Power.
Yeah, like it looks kind of like an offshoot of like Duckman or Wild Thornberrys, but even then, like it looks a little bit different.
So, isn't Eliza's mouth on her chin too? I think so.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, I think the way I always thought about As Told by Ginger and why I thought it was like a fun show, why like my brain categorized it as a girl show for like, even though it's not, is they all remind me of like the way they draw characters of dolls that came out around that time.
Yeah.
There's very much a like big head, skinny neck, body thing that a lot of toys and stuff
like a Bratz,
but more so like. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what it always like reminded me of, and it felt really like appropriate, even though the show is going against a lot of that stuff and what it does.
I fucking like, love As Told by Ginger. It was.
So do I. I gotta stop because if we go here, I'll talk about why Miranda is a formative character in my life.
I say what, like this show introduced me to Yuri and it changed my life. You know, like that whole.
Dude, I can't believe a show. She's like, hey, did you know that there's a mean black girl who's closeted? And I'm like, oh, she's so cool. And me years later. Huh.
Yeah.
A lot of things are happening.
Weird.
Figuring out.
But yeah, it straight up says, like, one of the animation studios is Animation Studio Petersburg. So it's like, there you go, St. Petersburg. But also both Mike Lunog and As Told by Ginger, they have like the eye shape are the same with the eyelashes. Like they both have like three,
top and bottom.
Yeah, the three on the top, which I think is a very cute. I was like, you know, I think it can be kind of overplayed to give like female characters eyelashes just to like be like, see, look how feminine they are. My approach to it is I give a character eyelashes based on vibes, you know? So like if they're supposed to evoke like beauty or like etherealness or something like that, then I'll give them eyelashes. But like, you know, there are certain characters that I'll draw and are male and will have eyelashes, and then that are female and won't, you know. So like but I tend to like the characters that have, you know, the beautiful, like that's just like a design quirk of animation that I'm just like, yeah, I'm down with. I'm fine with that, you know, as being like as stereotypical as it is. It's like one of those things where I'm like, yeah, I'm fine.
I think a thing I thought about Michael and Og that is I feel strange for the time and is the only thing that's happening now is I like how much of like characters, specifically Og's parents are. They're like they have deals, like they do stuff like their one note I'm a parent joke. Yeah. But like they're very much their own gags.
They have things going on. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And it's like it's really refreshing because like whenever there's time when we're following Alfred going hunting and I'm just like, yeah, you know, the wombat joke should get old. It doesn't. Yeah. I'm silly. The wombat pulls a little Tom and Jerry goof on him and I laugh.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a simple woman. It's whatever.
Yeah.
But then he interacts with like Og and I go, oh wait, that sure is his son. And I think the episode where they go hunting together and like the big issue is that Og, besides Mike and Lou, only hangs out with animals.
Yeah.
So it's like that's like it's such a funny episode that like gets a little heartfelt where he's like apologizing to all his animal friends that like his dad wants to hunt, even though his dad has gone on multiple occasions like this. Oh, we don't kill animals. That seems awful. Who would do that? We just shoot them with the little rubber thing, and I go away.
Yeah. I did like the there's like the episode with the pirates and like Mike dressing them up as like girls from New York or whatever. Like that's yeah. Like, and that's another thing where it's like she is kind of dumb. Like that's the like you look at the characters and you know just through like visuals you assume like, oh, Og is he's probably like the dumb caveman type character, but he's like the most smart, the most like logical, and then like it's like I don't know. Do I want to do the whole like id ego super ego thing for these characters? Probably not. Like, but whatever.
I think that's how you can tell like a good cartoon from this era to like not even necessarily a bad one, but like more like a one note one, because I call it like the stupid meter. If you can rank characters based on how dumb they are, I think you got like a well-rounded cast.
Oh, for sure.
I would like, because like what you guys are talking about is true. Like she definitely does some things where it's like that's stupid. How'd you do that? But I was watching one earlier where like everybody on the island is like the island is sinking, and it's Og and Mike saying like that is literally impossible. It's not sinking.
Yeah, so I like that. Ruler and everything.
Yeah, really so I like that Mike is like she's like this. She's the one. So she's smart enough to know that islands can't sink, but dumb enough to believe all this other stuff can work.
I think it's funny because it falls into like a very fun perception of where you're from as a kid.
Yeah.
Because as you like watch the episodes and really absorb them, you go, oh, she has like a 7-year-old perception of what New York is. Like, and it's not a wrong perception, right? But it's very much a like, oh, she likes baseball. What do you like about baseball? Getting angry at it. It's kind of what it boils down to. Like, she has very much a like, I've seen my parents and interacted with these things and I like them, but it's such a skewed kid perception of it. And I think that's why so many of the things that Og does ends up going wrong is because when you have these like very like young ideas of where you're from and what's it like, that they never quite feel exactly the same when you try to recreate it somewhere else, you know? Because it's less so like the thing that you're doing there, but it's being there. It's being there and existing there. And I think it's funny that like that feels like a very big thing of this show is almost like a love letter to where she's from for her, but we're on an island where literally no one ever goes. It's like I don't know, it's such an interesting thing that like I look into the show like, is this show about loving where you're from? Maybe it feels like it maybe, but also just not getting why.
And I like the cultural exchange angle, even if it's like they're like the people on the island, it's like a kind of a half-assed culture, you know? They're just like taking vague ideas of what they knew from their old life and sort of reinterpreting them into like, you know, like these new traditions and everything. But just in general, I just really like that kind of story in like a cartoon or whatever, where it's like you had these people from like wildly different walks of life and everything, and they're like giving each other like, it's not like there are some shows that are very like homogenized, very like one note. It's just about this type of person, you know, usually white suburban kid. And like just having this thing like, one, again, just cool to have a character from not just from New York, but from Manhattan, like from the city, and like being put in like the opposite environment that she's used to. But she's like always like willing to play ball with them, you know, like she's willing to like go along with it. And then like they're like, for the most part, are like fascinated by like her cultural exchange, usually except for Lou, who is like constantly like making, like not making fun of, but just like being such an annoying little cretin, like just constantly, just being like, I don't care about
Lou
this.
gain from this?
which is like that's again, I feel she's like, if you want to talk about the id, ego, superego, she's the id, but like in a different way than we usually get from like cartoons, because usually when you have like characters that are like that, like Sumo and Clarence, you know, they are kind of like wild, like almost animal type, but she's like just the basest, most like the darkest parts of humanity, you know, like the not the parts of humanity that have only been ingrained in us through being human rather than being animals, you know, like that's the kind of id that she is. So it's, which is I mean, you know, again, like that's maybe I'm being a little bit pretentious here, but that is like, I think that's funny, I think that's amazing, I love that. And again, just like with the Powerpuff Girls episode, I love that they are like, here's a cartoon, and the lead characters, there's 2 of the 3 lead characters are girls, and they're going to be just as funny and engaging as any other male character you could see in a cartoon at the time. They're not going to be like tokenized. They're not going to be like off to the side and everything. It's not like the era of like the 80s style cartoons is over, you know, like thoroughly dead, and now we're finally getting like the first starts of these shows where it's like, yeah, we can have, it seems like such a basic thing to praise, but really how bad shows were, you know, just very recently. You gotta point out like, oh my god, there are girl characters that are funny in this, you know, and like multifaceted too. Go ahead.
I think like the last thing I wanted to say about like the episodes is this episode, the last episode I watched last night, is I can't get over how funny the money episode was to me, because there's a point where I go, wait, why do we need money?
Yeah.
and just the current bit of like Mike going, no, money's great because you work for it really hard and you get it and you get stressed out and you use the money to go on vacation, to decompress, to then go and work really hard for money. And I'm like, oh, Mike, you hear the Soviet anthem behind me.
Yeah.
So
I mean, these are all fucking, that's the,
you're right.
Yeah, they're Russian, you know, that are making this.
Why do you think she wears red, everybody? I'm tapping my temple right now. We're getting into it. I don't know. This is very much a show where like can your parents watch this with you appeal? Probably. Because my mom had very strict rules that there's cartoons I couldn't watch when she was in the room.
Yeah.
Because like, look, you know, I gotta respect my mother, because I'm not trying to make like a 40-year-old black woman sit through cow and chicken noises after getting off work. I can't do it to her. That's fucked up. So like, this was one where my mom's like, all right, yeah, you can have this on. Yeah, this won't get a pass because it's not gonna make me lose my fucking mind.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's nice. It's nice that this show has like jokes like that exist for adults, but also this cartoon is still deeply for children. Yeah. And I think that balance is something that people are losing every day.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because I think like the idea of making jokes that parents could get kind of turned into like innuendo or like nasty jokes. Like I think that like that's what the thought process is slowly morphed into. But I think you're right. Like I think just like the smart way Mike has written this commentary on like how people in America live.
Yeah, she's supposed to be like introducing to these people like, look how great my culture is, and every single time she explains it, it's like, wow, that's horrible. Like this is
that's a joke that like a parent can enjoy. Like we don't need it to be like a sex joke. Sometimes look, parents love watching enough dry comedies. I think a parent would love a joke about taxes in a cartoon. Yeah. That's totally fine. Like, and it's nice. We got to get back to there where just the jokes for adults can be jokes that adults will understand, and not just like, sex. All right, great.
Yeah, right.
One thing we haven't talked about yet, the fucking opening theme. Holy crap. Ooh. That's like...
I had notes about this because I noticed something when watching the show. This show has multiple insert songs for characters.
Yeah, oh my god, yeah.
Man.
I was like watching the end credits, and like based on who the episode stars the most, they will have a different ending theme that's not the Mike Lou and Og song. And I'm like, this is so wild.
Cool.
Yeah.
And they're sung by the character. I'm like, wait, this one's sung by Og, this one's sung by Oak Queeks. I'm like, dude.
Yeah, there's there's one there's an episode called Thanks But No Thanks, and there's a song in the credits where I think Mike is singing Thanks But No Thanks. It's like it's like Bob's in a way, kind of like the Bob's Burgers does that stuff. Yeah, kind of like that.
It's such a cool thing to do with like the cast and just like, hey, we get in the booth.
But the like not only is the opening theme extremely catchy, I just love that kind of like, as a fan of like is Kamaka Viva Ole, you know, like that kind of island like strumming on the ukulele kind of music. But the visuals are great. Like it looks.
Oh yeah, the opening.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. I was recently like, I just went on like on Internet Archive. You can find like some like production stuff for the show, like old story Bibles and like art, like character design Bibles and things like that. And just like going through it and being like, man, like it just makes me like really appreciate and love cartoons even more, you know, just like even more than I already do, like because like, just every show has this level, like even a show that we like give a lot of shit like has this level of like love put into it. I do feel like though Mike Lewinog is kind of a cut above like the standard. Like I wouldn't personally put it like on the same level as like Dexter's Lab, just because like that's so laser targeted. That's like made by a Russian guy and then also has robots and anime references. Like that's like more laser targeted at me. But like this is like, you know, it's kind of like, oh, after that, which is like very hyperactive, very like gag a second, constantly going bam bam bam, giant robots, giant monster, you know. This is just so chill, and it's just like listening to the characters talk to each other and banter, and the performances and everything is just like so great.
I think like as a thing that exists, I think it gets better when compared to everything else because it serves such a clean purpose.
It does.
Of like a come down show that's still good, and like I think like putting this like in a lineup, I can see why this like 1999, 2000, 2001 lineup is like hailed as it is, you know. I think people overblow it sometimes, but like this lineup would be so fucking balanced, like just so well balanced across the board with this. And like that's like beautiful. I just love the idea of like getting so many different people to work on different cartoons and put in work and like have it be balanced against each other, of like these are different tastes of like comedy and sense of humors, and it really does show that like when people come together and do different things, that's where you get a perfect product of just like we're going up and down the vibes. Like we have a scary show kind of with Courage, we have hyperactive shows, we have shows like this, like it's why you need a lot of cartoons, Aaron,
right?
You know,
yeah, exactly. That's the go ahead.
That's one thing I always thought is missing now, but you kind of understand why it's missing now, right? Because like when you made stuff like Michael and Og and the rest of the original cartoons, it's exactly what you were saying. It's like a block. It's like you there's like shows in between. Like there's like a recipe that you follow almost. You gotta ease people into certain shows or whatever. And that's how, like, you know, like shows that like people don't necessarily like, there's not big fandoms for, but they were important, and because they're important, they last a long time. And like I'm thinking about, there's a sitcom called Half and Half that I've been watching recently. Everybody I've talked to about it has always been like, yeah, you know, it's just like it's not really that funny, but like I like it. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I feel too. Like like I like the characters. It's just not really that funny, but I like the characters. And it lasted 6 years. How does everybody feel this way? And it's because if you put it in the middle of a block, it's supposed to be there. It's supposed to help the shows around it and like lead into it, and the shows around it help it too. You don't get that now because everything just kind of gets uploaded. So there's no order. You know, to watch.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say there's also like a very hard push of everything has to be an overnight success.
Yeah,
where like
for sure.
Some shows can have mid-level success. Like I think Half and Half is like a fantastic example because it's very much a cartoon that like I'm not cartoon. A sitcom where like I remember my mom watching that on UPN while I was in the living room. Some shows exist to be watched while you're doing other shit.
Exactly.
And we mark it now of like this show has to have your entire undevoted attention.
Yeah.
And you have to be talking about it everywhere. I'm like, I
no,
like a chill
dude,
show.
You're right.
Like,
and I think that's part of why, like, it feels sometimes like we watch less, because at least for me, I throw the same shows on because I'm always doing something and they keep dropping new stuff that I want to give my full attention to.
Yeah.
You
I don't have the time.
You got to be a choice to half and half.
That was like, there was this brief point in time where I would, like, I still had my parents' cable. I'll log in and I would put on the Cartoon Network app and it would run like, you know, I didn't have TV like cable, but I could use the login to get into the app, and it would just like play episodes of shows, and that's how I like first saw Craig of the Creek and Apple and Onion and Unikitty and all these shows that are like wildly different in tone and style, but like all matched together. And Cartoon Network recently had a really good mix of shows on HBO Max. Like we had for like these more serious stories, we had Infinity Train. For like something that's a little bit more calm and naturalistic, there's the Fungies, you know, similar to Clarence. And then like for that Uncle Grandpa kind of like insane humor, we had Take and Seek. And then like, I don't know, it just they just sort of like, obviously like something went fucking horribly wrong behind the scenes, and then they like wrote all those shows off, and now these shows that were like meant to be on the channel but were thrown onto the streaming service because they needed content for it, and then didn't succeed because they were meant to be shows that you just watch while doing stuff on TV. And then now we're in this position where these shows like, oh, they only exist on streaming. The streaming service took them off, so now they're just like in this limbo. Now we have to go on Discord and ask somebody like, "Hey, can you give me a download of this?"
What's up with the link? You got the measure.
I don't know. Like, I think one day someone's gonna just take a risk and go, "Hey guys, I'm gonna just make a channel again."
Yeah,
and they might fail a little bit, but I'm gonna respect them. I'm gonna respect them for trying it because I don't know. There's like. This show's great, and I think like it really does bring me back to like I think we have like turned mid into bad.
Yeah, you're just
but,
so
like,
right.
But like the thing is though, mid is like, listen, sometimes you need some mid.
You need it.
You need mid. Like, you need mid.
Yeah.
You do. I 100% agree with that. Like, not everything. I don't know, man. Everything doesn't have to be like this extraordinary. I see myself in these characters. I am these characters. Yeah. I'll never stop thinking about, like, dude, like it like legitimately does not have to be that way. And this was the coolest era when cartoons were literally just cartoons. It wasn't something trying to get you to. That's the thing. I think a lot of the shows from this era don't ask much of you, right? And you know, it's not a slight to like the shows. With the ongoing stories and stuff like that, the serialization, but like even like something with like a bunch of lore like Powerpuff, in the first 30 seconds, if that's your first episode, the first 30 seconds tells you every single thing you need to know. They tell you who these girls are, they tell you their names, they tell you their daddy, and they show you every villain, and then the cartoon starts. Like they don't ask you to have seen season 2 episode 6. And like know this character and like pay attention to this thing in the background. That stuff is really, really cool. But just this simple era of just cartoons existing and letting the characters be and just kind of like having a bunch of fun. I love stuff like that. And this is an example of, like you said, like you need the mid, because it's not because like I think too, like people call like shows that don't do anything like King of the Hill or something. Like I mean they talk like they talk to each other and like it's calm, but it's not like
it's low key. Like it's not a bad thing.
It's not like King of the Hill is fucking hilarious. Like it's not a toothless like show that has like nothing going on or whatever. Like even though it's chill, it's like really smartly written, really funny, really tightly like animated and shot, and everything's like such a beautiful show. And like I mean, like we're talking about this with Mike Lunog, and like yeah, I would put Mike Lunog like in that kind of mid category, but like I really enjoyed watching it.
It's good.
And like
yeah,
you
like,
said, I loved the fact that like as it went on, they're like, all right, let's add some like new characters and stuff to that. And that's like, what is that if not the same thing as like in Steven Universe when like a new gem shows up or something like that, you know, like just because that's like on a higher like they take it more seriously in the story, it's still the same fundamental thing of like evolving a show like as you're watching it and everything. So it's like, I think this whole discussion about, you know, like I feel like people maybe are kind of poisoned on the whole like needing a show to have like a ton of like this lore just because so they can have discussions about it, when it's like, I mean, what is you have a show like Smiling Friends airing right now that's airing an episode every week, and every single week people are constantly talking about it, posting clips about it, everything.
That's funny.
Because it's funny, and they like the characters, and they like the events that happen, and it has nothing to do with like an ongoing plot or everything, but it's the most discussion the internet has had around one cartoon in so long that
That's
everybody
true.
can just agree is like, this is good and funny and worth watching.
Like I think like I don't want to harp on like this, but like I think we have like as across the board, and this goes for like as someone who like enjoys movies also and comic books, I think we have like really poisoned ourselves as a whole, and like this is like not our fault, this is capitalism's fault, but everything has to be like a level of hype and bombasticness where like you got to go to someone that says, have you seen what blank did? I'm like, well, hold on, that show was pretty fun, I enjoyed it. Like I think we've gone from like everything has to be like this big monumental earth-shattering moment for you instead of just like, this was pretty good. You know, it's why everyone gets mad when someone says, "Yeah, this game is like a 7 out of 10."
Yeah,
that's not
like, that's pretty good.
Dig against it. That's pretty good. Like
that's fucking 2 points above like 5 out of 10, which is like the middle. That's an average, you know, like middle point.
Like and like I don't need everything to like knock my socks off like what's happening in it. Like if it's quality wise, quality is a totally different thing. This show's really good. Mike Lindell is really good, but also I think there's like, we can't be quiet. There's like a lack of quietness and like absorption that happens. And like, I don't want to blame it because I'm saying this as someone who's a woman who is ADHD. I have this issue, but like, I can still enjoy this and do other things. And I think once we like go back to these quiet cartoons that like maybe you didn't like as a kid, because realistically, as a kid, there's a lot of shit I don't like that I like now. That's just the truth of the world. Maybe go back to these things and go, man, this is tight. Like I think about it all the time. I did not like Mission Hill as a kid. Now I rewatch Mission Hill every year. Every year I put Mission Hill on. I just relax. Like I just think once we hit that point of where people go, man, I'm kind of like everything, everywhere at all. Ads, TV, news, all of it is trying to stimulate you so much.
Right.
That once we take a step back and go, man, you know what? I could go for a little bit less stimulation right now.
Yeah, we could all learn something.
I can go for like a little chuckle
from good old Mike Mazinski. We can all learn from her. You know?
Mike Mazinski.
Yeah. Ah man, what a good.
I gotta say, this is the nicest I've ever heard someone be to this cartoon. Yeah. This makes me very happy.
I'm happy. Yeah, I'm really happy to have you on to talk about it because like
it was great.
It was a great. I feel like we had a really good conversation. Even if we went on a tangent there, I feel like it was related to the overarching theme of So, but is there anything else that we haven't talked about with Mike Lunog, or can we wrap it up?
We got anything?
Let me check my. I think we did talk about pretty much everything because it's a good show. You should watch it. Yeah. It's I think almost like because I switched over to YouTube. I think almost all of it's on YouTube.
Yeah.
Because I watched a lot of it on YouTube with like my partner in the living room. So just if you're in the living room, you got a video game console. Open the YouTube app and watch some Mike Lunog.
Yeah, I watch it in my bedroom on my laptop because that's the only place where I have a fan. It's fucking so hot in New York right now. Like, and so it's
Oh,
like,
dude. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Oh, God. But all right. Tariq, thank you so much for coming on and talking about this.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you for having me. This was great. I had a great time.
If you have anything to plug, now is your time.
If you want to see cartoon videos, you go to my channel, ToonrificTariq. I do Monday streams to raise funds for the production of my pilot. I have a game channel with my friend Hats Off Media called You Laugh. Podcast with my homeboy Johnny Two Cellos called Cartoons That Curse.
Yeah, that's good. I love Johnny. I've had him on for, like, when we talked about Godzilla, like, a few years ago.
He probably loved that.
Yeah. So that was like, like that was an old podcast that I had, was going through all the Godzilla movies. But yeah, I love him. I gotta think of something that I can get him on, because, like, I feel like his brand is like adult cartoons, like that sort of thing. And we're mainly focusing on, like, the main channel of Cartoon Network.
But then we're gonna do a single moral oral episode.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I fucking love. Yeah, we should just, like, randomly pick Adult Swim shows and be like, yeah, let's just do, whatever. Let's just do freaking Joe Pera Talks With You and, like, moral oral.
Because Johnny, I've been curious, honestly. So I've poked the bear a few times, and actually, he wasn't like a Cartoon Network kid. He was like a Nick kid. So, like, sense. if you ever talk about, like, Hey Arnold or something, exactly. Like, he's got that. Because even I would bring up, like, Edda and Nettie, and he'll be like, yeah, I still gotta watch a couple episodes of that. I'm like, shit. And
that's alien to hear from me. Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah. I know, dude. I was trying to get a guest for the Ed and Eddie episode, and I was like, okay, it's a Canadian show, probably has some cultural footprint in Canada, because I was thinking of, like, Clone High. That was, like, a big thing in Canada for similar reasons. It's so much to the point that Total Drama Island just, like, completely ripped off its art style. But every Canadian I talked to was just like, nope. Including the aforementioned Wacky Deli. I was like, no, never, didn't really watch Ed and Eddie as a kid, didn't really have any connection to it. You know, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, this is your guy.
First of all, Deli is one of my best friends, and this is the first time I'm hearing this. I did not.
But it's just, but, like, I went to, like, every Canadian I knew, and I was just like, how about you? How about you? And then I learned, like, I guess they just, nobody gave a shit about it in...
Because it's for America,
but it was made by a Canadian guy that hates America. Like, he just is like...
Yeah.
So
what's more America than hating America?
That's true.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have anything else to plug? Is that it?
Nah, that's it. That's it for me. Thank you guys for having me again. This was great.
Morgan, do you want to plug yourself?
Yeah, you can find me at Girl Next Vor on Tumblr and Blue Sky, and I don't know if my name's like that on co-host, but I don't really post there that often, or on Blue Sky, really. Yeah. I'm also on Twitter, but again, it's a secret. Yeah. You gotta get the, your Miles Edgeworth on. You gotta find me.
If you find her Twitter, you'll find like 20 posts of her constantly complaining about Blue Skies.
Go fuck yourself. Yeah. I also draw, that's like such a sleeper hit of the thing that I do.
Nice.
But yeah, you can find me there places. I also am working on other projects, but that's pretty much it. There's not really a promotion, but
let's keep an eye.
We're recording this very close to Juneteenth. Shout out to Black people.
That's true.
It's also Pride. Shout out to me. Shout out to
Yeah.
But that's pretty much it. Go ahead, Mike.
It is kind of fucking nuts that, like, Juneteenth was not a federal holiday until recently. Like, that is like...
Yeah, and then they took that thing and ran with it.
They stole it. They
bring ice cream. It's all over.
Like a thief in the night, yo. They started marketing that shit quick.
Never thought I'd see the day.
Gentrified.
I went from explaining what that was to people I went to school with to like, I know, and I'm going to a Juneteenth party. I said, you are white.
I'm going to a Juneteenth. What even is that? I'm going to a Juneteenth.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's like a code word. I don't like it.
Well, it's like, so they just didn't Did you just not learn about the Civil War and?
Dude, okay, listen, look, Wyatt. You've been my friend for a long time, so I think you've forgotten how often white people just do not know or care about you.
That's true.
I'm gonna be so real with you.
That's fine. Yeah.
But
anyway.
hit the plug, Wyatt.
Well, if you want to check this out on if you're listening to this on Patreon, thank you. If you want to listen to the next episode, which will either be Johnny Bravo or Ed and Eddie, you can go on over at the $5 level, donate, you get it a week early. You can listen to it on Patreon right now if you're listening to this on YouTube. And also check out other episodes that we did. We did freaking Space Ghost with Toby Jones. That was a lot of fun. Dexter's Lab with Steve Yurko, and Powerpuff Girls with Nick from Nintendo. So just like all good guys all around. So donate.
It's a good roster.
Yeah, if you only have $1 though, you can get my podcast Wow Cool Robot that I do with my friend Wayne, aka Bolt Creature on Twitter, where we go through. It's 5-minute episodes and we review a robot. He just picks a random robot and we review it. We just do it for 5 minutes and we put it up. It's $1. So if you only have $1 to spare, I still thank you very much from the bottom of my soul, and also you get something for that still.
That's pretty great.
Yeah, thank you all for listening to this episode. Again, join us next time for either Ed and Eddie or Johnny Bravo, which will both of them are close, guests are close friends of Morgan and I. Those are very easy people to pick. The person for Johnny Bravo was I literally cannot think of anybody that's a better choice for Johnny Brett to talk about Johnny Bravo than this. And I'm very excited for us to finally get to it, even if I've said season 4's kind of, yeah, but we'll get to it.
Be excited, because no matter what next episode is, it will be about the folly of men.
Yes.
I don't know how, but Johnny Bravo editing, that's the overarching theme of those cartoons.
Yep. All right. Catch you later.